Tony was lying on the operating table after being in a near-fatal accident. The doctors were performing an emergency operation on him, and they knew that he was dying, but they kept trying to save him. God knows enough people died in this hospital lately, a doctor said. Tony could hear them speaking. Suddenly he heard one of the nurses say, "We have lost all vital signs." He then found himself falling in through a tunnel, and he remembered hearing about a dark tunnel and a light people see just before they die. He then was looking down at the operation table from floating above. He wondered, was this an out-of-body experience? Was he dead? He must be if there were no vital signs. Then suddenly he heard a nurse speaking to him. "Don't give up. It's not your time to go. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Don't give up whatever you do. Keep fighting." The nurse had a strong Irish accent. She continued to speak. "Tony, you have so much more to do in this world. Don't give up. Come back. Don't leave. Your time to go is not now." Suddenly, Tony wasn't floating over the bed anymore, but he was back in his body and could hear a doctor say, "Wow, that was something else. He was almost gone for 10 whole minutes." A nurse said, "Vital signs are stable." Tony smiled, and a few minutes later, he was speaking to the nurse. But he realised it wasn't the nurse that saved him by asking him to not give up. The nurse said, "You gave us all a fright, Tony, but what just happened was nothing short of a miracle. You were dead for 10 whole minutes." Tony said, "Could I please thank the nurse with the Irish accent, please? She kept telling me don't give up, and that is what made me pull back from crossing over." The doctor said, "Tony, there is no one here with an Irish accent." "Well, luckily we don't have the nurse with that accent around her anymore." Tony asked, "Why? What's wrong with her?" The nurse said, "The only nurse around here with an accent from Ireland was this crazy woman. She murdered 14 of our patients, and when she was found out, she shot herself in the head. Just before she did shoot herself, she started rambling on about she would make sure we all pay for getting her caught." Suddenly the woman froze, and the doctors, when the nurse with the accent from Ireland appeared and said, "I made my penance after I killed those patients, and I proved it by bringing this patient back to life. But as for the doctors and nurses, who were the reason I was caught experimenting with murder, well, that's a different story. Within 2 minutes, everyone in the room were killed besides Tony. Soon after, the police were called, and Tony was arrested for multiple homicide of the nurses and doctors that were killed by the ghost of the nurse who saved him." Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content. I met a really nice guy called Jeff in the resort I went on holidays with my friends to. I loved to just lie down and relax and feel the peaceful atmosphere all around me. I loved how the island looked when I looked it up online, but somehow it even exceeded my expectation. We were enjoying our time during the day because he was working nights, then had to get to sleep for a few hours. We were really enjoying the sun, so it was kinda cool him having the day off. He looked so cool and had blonde hair and wore sunglasses. my friends Sarah and Judy went off with other guys they met, so it was just as well I met Jeff, or I'd be on my own in this resort. I actually wouldn't mind, only for there being a serial killer breaking into people's apartments and murdering them in their sleep. One girl survived and told the police that he was wearing all black and some sort of ski mask or scarf or something, but she noticed something very strange about his eyes. The police wondered, did he wear contact lenses, or for some strange reason was that really the colour of his eyes? They couldn't even draw up a sketch of the serial killer, as all they had to go on was he had strange red eyes. Me and Jeff didn't let a serial killer loose on the island ruin our fun, so we continued to have as much fun as we could, including surfing. It was so beautiful, feeling the breeze while going along the water on the surfboard. When we got back, I was watching the evening news. It was about the killer. I went to fetch a towel from the shower and accidentally walked in on Jeff. He froze when he saw me and looked right at me with eyes that were the colour red. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content. Thomas was looking forward to go to the cinema on Friday night. There was an exclusive invite only of a new zombie movie at 6, and right away there was a public screening at 8, which he was going to. He was really looking forward to the movie, as it promised to give a new cinema experience never experienced before. Thomas had an early dinner before heading out for the cinema. He finished his meal, then 5 minutes later he was driving to the cinema. He loved going to the cinema since he was a little boy. He knew that he loved the cinema since the very first time he stepped foot inside one. The local cinema was a 20-minute drive for him. He drove a bit faster because he didn't want to miss the start of the movie. He knew they would put on maybe 15 minutes of ads, so that gave him some extra time. When he arrived at the cinema, he went to get his ticket scanned, but was surprised there was a big crowd of people looking very upset. The person behind the counter said, "I'm sorry everyone, the cleaners are still in screen 7. We won't be long more. I'm very sorry for this. It's not cleaned yet." The crowd were growing more and more impatient, as it was now 8 o'clock. Thomas had patience, but this was driving him crazy. He was wondering would the movie be still on, or would he miss the start of it. The crowd were really irritated now with the long wait. He pretended to go to the bathroom, and as he was passing screen 7, he snuck in. He was waiting to be told it wasn't ready by the cleaners, but they didn't say anything. It was almost like the crowd from the premiere didn't even leave yet. It was so dark, it was hard to see. Thomas got out his torch. He always brought to the cinema to find his seat, as he liked it old school instead of using his phone's torch. He screamed when he could see there was a group of what looked like zombies coming for him. He said to himself it must be some sort of fancy dress for the premiere, until the lights came on, and he was then bombarded with the evil, twisted sight of what looked like zombies lying down in the ground in pools of blood. Out in the foyer, the crowd waiting were pleased to hear the man behind the counter say, "Okay everyone, sorry for the delay, but the cleaners have finished now. Ye are free to go into Screen 7. Enjoy the movie." The crowd walked in to Screen 7, really looking forward to see the movie. All their frustration was gone already, because all they wanted to do was watch the movie and enjoy it. When they went into Screen 7, they could hear growling and couldn't register anything else, because that is when they were turned in to zombies. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Jim was invited to a meeting with a huge TV station boss, and he was very nervous, but at the same time very excited. When he arrived at the office, he couldn't believe what he was about to hear. The boss spoke. "We can supply you with the answers to win and become the champion in the next episode of their Super Quiz Show. Now please don't tell your friend about what I said, because if you do, trust me, it won't work out good for you. I practically own the networks that have all the big shows on. So if you want to go with this plan, great, but if not, then just forget about it and don't tell anyone." Jim was speechless for a few seconds, but to him it felt like minutes. Then he finally spoke. "You mean you want to give me the answers and win the show and become the champion and beat my friend and break his unbeatable streak?" Brian said. "Yes, and don't forget, for each episode you will win $100,000. So we will be giving you that for a good few months. In no time you'll be a millionaire." Jim was stuck in a rut, being out of a job and could really do with the money, and didn't want to pass up on the opportunity, so he took the deal. When he told his friend Daniel that he was going to be his opponent on the next show, he pretended he was picked out of the lottery they had every week for different opponents. When Daniel heard about it, he laughed, but didn't think much of it, because to him it would be just another great win. Jim was thinking about it at home while he was watching TV, and he wondered how it would make a difference to him being given the answers, as he could not see his friend Daniel not be able to answer any question, even if it went on for hours. He rang the number of the TV boss and asked him, and was told that they knew questions he didn't know the answers to. Jim didn't bother ask how they knew he wouldn't know, but he found it strange. On the night of the quiz show, they were asked loads of questions. It seemed like hundreds. Finally it came to the last question, and the host, Mr. Major, asked Jim, "Okay Jim, you are on your last question. If you get this right, then you are the winner of this series, which will knock the current Super Quiz champion off, and you will become the champion. The question is a riddle. What ship has 2 mates and no captain, and you broke it?" Jim found it strange, because he was never given the answer to this question. It was the first time he ever heard it. He could feel the sweat pouring from him and the heat of the lights shining down on him. Suddenly he felt he was going to faint when he looked over and saw his friend Daniel hold a gun to him and say, "I'll give you the answer. Friendship. You broke our friendship by taking that deal." Suddenly Jim heard the voice of the host. "Hello Jim, excuse me, are you okay? We are waiting for your final answer. which would entitle you to be the champion. Let me repeat the question. What is used to measure something, but also a king? Jim answered, a ruler. The crowd started clapping and applauding. Then everyone started screaming. He wondered why, and this time he knew he was awake. He saw Daniel hold a gun to him, screaming, "You're no friend of mine," and he shot him dead. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content.